Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Thursday. It is the last day of June, June 30th, 2022. I hope you're all healthy. I hope you're COVID free and safe today. And I hope the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field and those who are the first responders who are out here on a daily basis trying to save lives. And those who pick up garbage for us to keep streets and sidewalks clean. And those that make deliveries for our convenience. And double blessings on the men and women trying to help rescue and deliver the children who are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. And also the victims of pornography and child pornography. The victims of prostitution and child prostitution. The victims of human trafficking and sex slavery, and double curses on the perpetrators, the perverts, and the profiteers who traffic in this human misery. And finally, blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children in the United States on the streets, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions, and blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, big day today. Today at 6 o'clock, free agents will be allowed to speak with teams, representatives, and begin conversations about free agency. Jalen Brunson is going to be speaking with the Dallas Mavericks, the Miami Heat, and of course, the New York Knicks. I'd say maybe by 7 p.m. at the latest, it'll be announced that he's going to sign with the Knicks. We had a live broadcast, I think it was Tuesday night, some of you all remember, where I guaranteed y'all three things this week: that Jalen Brunson would be a New York Knick by Friday, and also Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks would no longer be New York Knicks by Friday. And I believe that after tonight, we're going to see that has, well, first the Noel Burks thing is done. And then this part here is going to happen tonight. So the Knicks will have Jalen Brunson as their starting point guard. He will be given the keys to the team. I don't know if they'll officially make him the captain, but he's going to have that status. Okay. And so that gives us a solid player at the position of point guard that the Knicks haven't had in terms of a signed solid guy that's not old, that's not past his prime. Since Charlie Ward, I mean, it's been a long time. We had Ray Felton, but Ray Felton was basically, the height of Ray Felton's Knicks career was that one season before everybody got traded to Denver for Carmelo Anthony. He ended up coming back at some point, but it wasn't the same as when he was in Mike D'Antoni's speedball offense with the Knicks. So we've had guys on and off, but we haven't had a steady, solid point guard since Charlie Ward. I mean, you might want to count Stephon Marbury. Okay, but when I think of Stephon Marbury, I think of a dynamic talent with a lot of drama. Because I don't know why, but we ended up with a lot of drama with Stephon. But it was always other things aside from his abilities on the court. But anyway, we got a solid guy here, a solid character, a solid citizen, a leader, a proven winner, a guy that's, not afraid of the big stage. He's not the most naturally gifted, obviously. There's obvious drawbacks, but I'm not going to whine about the Knicks signing Jalen Brunson. See, and again, there's going to be Knicks fans that they should have did this, they should have did that. There's always the coulda, woulda, shoulda crowd. Forget it. We're moving forward with Jalen Brunson. Okay, no, he wasn't my first choice, but it is what it is, and they could have did a lot worse. And so, like I said, we got a solid guy coming. And that's a good beginning, a focal point of what you want to create in terms of winning, long-term sustainable winning culture. So that I'm going to give kudos, obviously, kudos to Leon Rose. Whereas the other media, some are taking the position that, they should have signed him. They didn't sign him. They suck. They didn't sign him. They just suck. I mean, there's people giving all kind of, everything with the Knicks. And this is bringing up the next point I want to bring up today. Dejounte Murray. So this week, I would like y'all to remember this week if you could. I know it's hard. This world goes by fast and people can't even remember what they ate for lunch yesterday. So it's really, there's a whirlwind going on every day. But if you could remember this week, because you're getting played. And let me show you how. So Ian Begley reported that the Knicks brass was concerned about the Evan Fournier-Brunson backcourt pairing. For good reason. Brunson is already 6'1", not the greatest lateral movement guy. And, he's not the strongest defender. And we already know the shortcomings Evan Fournier has. And it's interesting how most people, when they look at evaluation of players on a team, they always look at offense. They never hardly look at defense. And that's an amazing thing to me. Y'all got to remember, no defense, no bueno. No defense, no bueno. I don't care how great offensively you are. You don't win chips with no defense. Okay, so you don't start off with weak defense and think you're going to just help make it better suddenly. So that was a bad pairing. And so Ian brought up that guys like a Dejounte Murray, who they heard was available, might be somebody the Knicks might be interested in. They didn't say it was imminent. They didn't say they had close to signing him. But all of these other content creators and reporters ran with that. And all of a sudden it became the Knicks are bidding for Dejounte Murray. And then when Hawks ended up getting him, and by the way, the Hawks gave up the 2023 pick they got, a first round pick they got from Charlotte, their unprotected 2025, unprotected 2027, and a pick swap for 2026. They gave up the 4 first rounders, unprotected. Okay, because San Antonio is looking to rebuild. That's what rebuild looks like. So they gave up Dejounte Murray and they got back Gallinari. Gallinari is irrelevant to them in this scenario. It's just to make the money work. They'll probably waive him, but it's just to get those picks. So San Antonio got their own picks plus 4 now, first round. Okay, so you give that to Greg Popovich and that crew over there, that front office, they're gonna turn it into something in short order. Okay. So now the narrative is the Knicks failed. The Knicks blundered. The Knicks flipped out. They didn't get it. Number one. And then then there's the follow-up narrative that you're going to hear now. Well, they better do something quick in order to make up for that mistake. So in other words, you heard gossip about what the Knicks might be doing. They pushed it on you so that you believed it was a real thing. And then when it didn't materialize, because it really never was, it's the Knicks' fault and they have to do something about it. This happens all the time with the New York Knicks media. Okay, it happens all the time. All right? Murray was a possibility because he was made available. But it did not mean the Knicks were going to get him. And let me also reiterate what we always say, but some of y'all just won't receive it. Leon Rose not going to overpay for nobody. And somebody was talking about giving up Toppin quick. I was like, wait, are we getting Magic Johnson or is it Dejounte Murray? What? Look, man, I'm glad we got a dude that's not going to go out there and go willy-nilly with all our picks and stuff. That sounds like Isaiah Thomas type stuff. They weren't doing that. Okay? And so the media gets everybody hyped and hoping. And then when they crush you and then they say, it's the Knicks' fault. It's Leon Rosen's fault. And then y'all start hating on your supposedly own team. Okay? And that's how they set y'all up every single time. All of these guys. The only 3 guys that you can trust, Now, you can believe me or not, but I'm telling you the truth. It's Ian Begley, Shams, and Wojnarowski. The only three guys you could trust. And they mention that a mention that the Knicks are interested does not mean that they're going to go all out and sign this guy. Look, let me tell you the difference between interest and all out. Look at Jalen Brunson's situation and look at Dejounte Murray as far as the Knicks. Interest is, I made a phone call to the Spurs GM and I said, is Murray available? Is that true? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, let me get back to you. Let me think about that. Boom. That's interest. That's interest. Going after it is, I just moved Nerlens Noel, Kevin Walker, and Alec Burks to make space for Jalen Brunson. I just hired Jalen Brunson's father on my assistant coach. That's like, I'm after him. Now, if that fails, all right, I hear you. Then they flopped. That didn't work. Okay? But don't give me they failed at Dejounte Murray when they were really never pushing for him. They weren't going to give up no 4 first-round picks. What, y'all crazy? See, that's what I'm saying. Between the NBA 2K crowd and the catnip by some of these media types that's just using you for clicks, it's really almost comical. Okay, it really is. And so some people just harping on Leon as if he failed here. He did not. He didn't tell y'all he was going to get Dejounte Murray. He didn't put no statement out there saying I'm trading everything for Dejounte Murray. He didn't even have Ian say that. Ian speaks a lot for the Knicks. Y'all got to notice that. When he speaks, he's getting inside information that they want leaked. And sometimes it's to misdirect people. Okay? Some of y'all are of the attitude, which I like, is I'll believe it when I see it in terms of who they get. And that's exactly right. Don't push, don't get into these narratives they push on you and start believing them like it's fact. Most of these guys have no clue what they're talking about. They're making stuff up to get you to read their article. Okay? And then you get them on some of these shows and I'm looking at some of these kids and I'm like, some of these kids look like they graduated high school just a few years ago. And all of a sudden they know about the inner workings of an NBA management. Or they understand talent. They don't even look like they're 30 years old yet. Some of them barely men. And so I'll be like, well, all of a sudden these are experts. Why? Because they rub shoulders with somebody. They got to interview somebody. And then they get all of these hype because you're treating them like they know what they're talking about. And then you're hearing them and you're believing what they're saying. Knicks Nation. Use your common sense. Okay? Come on. Leon Rose, look, and let me just tell you something, man. The narrative that they got to go fix this because of this mistake is just plain stupid. And let me tell you why. Okay? You remember the draft, right? A couple weeks ago, obviously. And I explained to y'all that the Knicks have plan A, they have a draft board, and they have a list of players on the draft board that they want. And they have a plan to get those players. And if plan A doesn't work, it's a default. Boop, it drops to plan B, and you go there. Boop, it drops to plan C. And that's how they do it. They don't just start there. I told you, if you remember 2 years ago, in Leon Rose's first draft, this was like the COVID season, the bubble season. In Leon Rose's first draft, he was collecting second round picks. A lot of them. Okay? He turned one of them into Derrick Rose, right? He was collecting second round picks. A lot of them. So he collected so many of them. When you go look at how many they had, you knew they weren't going to take all of those players. So why was he collecting those picks? It was obvious he was going to use them for trade. Now, Mark Berman understood this a little bit because he said, they're trying to trade for a big star. That's the way Berman thinks. Everything is a big superstar that we're going to win now with. But no. But that's what he was saying. They're going to trade for a big star. Yes, they were collecting the assets for trade, not to pick them. So that when they're dealing these picks, it's not like we're losing something that we were going to go get a superstar with or anything. They're dealing them because that's the plan of obtaining these second round picks. Okay? And if they deal a first round pick that they got from another team, that was the purpose. So now last year, Leon Rose signs Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, Derrick Rose, right? Evan Fournier, Kemba Walker. He signs all of these guys. He signs all of them to short-term deals. The longest deal there was Fournier, and that was 3 years. The media, of course, kept fooling you into saying, well, Fournier got a 4-year, $72 million deal. That was a lie and an exaggeration to set you up for later. He got a 3-year, $54 million guaranteed deal. That's what he got. Okay. The 4th year is a team option. It wasn't even a player option. It's a team option. So he signed all of these other guys to 2-year deals. And he had the treasure trove of picks. So he played it out this year. And obviously didn't work out the way he wanted. So now he knows he got to get rid of plan B. I got my picks. I got to move these guys. Okay, let's use them to get rid of these guys. Plan B. It's not like he just made this up this year. And one other thing. Don't expect the Knicks to plug every single hole on their team this summer. If you're looking long term, you got to take steps one at a time. Some of you say, well, they're going to win a chip this year with these guys. Is they going to win a chip with Jalen Brunson? You expecting them to win a chip this year? What you think? What, they got Michael Jordan all of a sudden? What? How you going to win a chip this year? You got to start piece by piece, building the right way. They've laid the groundwork by drafting how they have drafted. They got a nice crew of young players. They don't need to worry about a superstar right now. That's why some of y'all mentioning Zach LaVine. Forget Zach LaVine. Again, I told y'all, we're not in the $200 million player bracket right now. We're in year 3 of our rebuild. We took a step backwards last year because Tom Thibodeau made us. I'm hoping he learned from that. Because again, I'm telling you, Leon has let it known he's going with a youth movement. If Tibbs ain't into that, he'll be out by January. I'm guaranteeing you, he'll be out by January. Okay, and they'll get somebody in there that will be with it. Some of y'all like Kenny Atkinson, okay, whoever. But they're going to get somebody in there with it, with the program. Okay, so management has to be, the whole team from front office to the coaching staff have to be on the same page. If you get a head coach who wasn't on the same page, that's going to mess the whole program up. Okay. So Tibbs did that last year. Some of y'all say, well, Leon hired Tibbs. So what, you want to blame Leon for hiring Tibbs? What, y'all just want to crap on people? Yeah, he hired Tibbs. Tibbs is our coach. If he don't work out, they get rid of him. But for now, the reason I like Tibbs, I mean, as stubborn as he is and as messed up as he could be sometimes, is he going to teach these young kids how to come to camp in shape and play defense. That's what he's going to do. That's what he's done with Obi Toppin. That's what he's done for Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is in shape and he's learned to play defense. Okay? He's improved his jump shot tremendously and he's learned to play defense. You see, if that's all he accomplishes, fine. And I believe, again, the Jalen Brunson thing is a compromise with Tom. They're getting him for all of the reasons, the family connections and all that. But now Tom has his vet point guard that he could play 1 million minutes if he wants to. But he's got to play the rest of these kids. Okay? So now, don't let the media manipulate you into thinking the Knicks are doing something when they never was going to do it. Or that they're saying something that they never said. Because these media types want you to click on their program. All right? So the Knicks will have Jalen Brunson as their point guard. I think the next move is, I think Ian is right. It's not Dejounte Murray, obviously, but they're going to move Evan Fournier. either Fournier comes off the bench or they move him. Okay, that can work either way, because if he comes off the bench, I really would love to see Grimes start. Well, Grimes is a Thibodeau favorite, so I would love to see Grimes as the starting two guard. His defense is really good. You pair him next to Jalen Brunson, and I think you got a really good backcourt right there. And so I wouldn't have a problem with Jalen Brunson with Quentin Grimes at the two guard spot. Or they'll trade, Fournier, keep Grimes coming off the bench, and bring in another dude that's going to be a two guard that could play defense. This would be a good spot for Reggie Bullock. But hey, that ain't happening. So, yeah, that's what I think we're going to see next. In my heart of hearts, I want to keep Cam Reddish, but his name keeps coming up, especially Ian brought him up. That makes me nervous. I would love to keep Cam Reddish because I really believe in his talent, and I'd like to give him this season, his contract year, to come healthy, in shape, and play a season without injury. I think if he does that, he'll be a dynamic player. And so I'm hoping we get to keep him, but I'm also being realistic. Somebody said, this whole Cam thing. What Cam thing? The Knicks might want to trade him. I'm not telling you what I want. I'm telling you what the Knicks doing. Some of y'all need to calm down. But anyway, yeah, they might trade him, but I'm hoping they keep him. Really. I hate to see that brother go, but let's wait and see what happens, because Cam will be perfect on that wing rotation, and he can play 4. He could play small ball 4, and he could play the 3, and he could play the 2. He handles the rock. He's got length. He can play defense. He just needs to stay available. Okay. So we'll see how this works. But I think the next move is going to be involving Evan Fournier. And I told you, I've been telling you that for 6 months. Some of you have been fighting. We can't trade Fournier. He's a shooter. We can't trade the shooter. Yeah, we can. Because we want defense. No defense, no bueno. No defense, no bueno, man. Now, as far as shooting, I don't understand why some people's like, well, we need shooting, as if Emmanuel quickly could shoot the rock. Obi has already shown y'all he could shoot the rock when given minutes. RJ is flirting with 40% 3-point for the last 2 seasons. There's still this narrative he can't shoot. Because he goes through streaks doesn't mean he can't shoot. Overall, he's up in the high 30s last 2 seasons. And I think and he'd be flirting with 40% from 3. So RJ is coming. Okay. Then Brunson's a good shooter. Grimes could shoot the rock. Deuce really could shoot too, but he's like Obi. He needs the minutes. So we got shooters. I'm not sure what everybody tripping in, because, Mitchell Robinson's not 3-point shooting Nikola Jokic. I mean, so one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. One of the best offensive rebounds in the NBA. And this summer, he is working on his offensive repertoire. So I think he's going to break out with some new wrinkles, coming this season. I want to see him with a little bit 10-foot jump shot, a little bit hook, something like that. Maybe a little bit more of that stuff. We'll see. But I ain't worried about him, making or breaking Knicks because he can't shoot threes and they need to open the floor. BS. He'll be all right. The Knicks will be all right. And Mitch Rob coming back. I told y'all. Stop tripping on my man Mitch Rob. Although I was a little concerned. I forgot where I saw this yesterday. I don't know if it was Ian or not. So I don't know if it's credible. But the Knicks looking for a backup center to Mitchell Robinson. I thought that was Jericho Sims myself. But and they're going to convert Sims to a regular NBA contract. So I'm not sure why they would be looking for a backup center. If they just want somebody with some more experience, maybe. That's more reliable than Nerlens Noel as far as health-wise. They're going to have plenty of opportunity. You know who I wouldn't mind coming back to the Knicks if they trade Julius Randle, which I don't know if they're going to do that. I'd like them to trade Julius Randle. But if they did trade Julius Randle and they started Obi Toppin, I would not mind seeing Bobby Portis come back to the Knicks. What y'all think? I would not mind seeing Bobby Portis come back to the Knicks as a backup 4. He can also play the backup 5. So if they wanted a guy that could back up Mitch Rob at the 5, and he's a stretch, he could play a stretch 5. So we all can satisfy them stretch 5 Joneses. So, I would not mind seeing Bobby Portis. Once a Knick, always a Knick. I would not mind seeing Bobby Portis come back here. So let's see what happens. He just declined his $4.6 million player option. I think it was yesterday. So he's an unrestricted free agent right now. I would be surprised if Milwaukee lets him actually walk, but we'll see. That's a possibility, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, Thursday, big night in New York. We're going to see all kind of news. Kapla, kapla, kapla. Jalen Brunson's a Knick, but we already kind of knew that. Let's move forward and let's build this team the right way. Shalom.